We're joined today by Jez Lawson and Howard Presland, and they're here to tell us all about TinniSoothe. Over to you guys.
Yes, thanks, Jane, and thanks very much to the Education Working Group for having us on the call today. We're excited to talk to you about TinniSoothe, how it came about, what it is, how it works, what our plans for the future, and why your members might be interested. And if they stay till the end of the call, there's a little teaser for them to get something special at the end of the meeting. So we're looking forward to speaking with you today. Howie, do you want to take it away?
As Jez said, thank you very much for having us on the call. It's really good to share the story of TinniSoothe. I'll try and condense what feels like a very long time, especially now, into 4 or 5 minutes. I am a tinnitus sufferer. I got tinnitus in around 2013, playing in a band. I was rehearsing in preparation for my 40th birthday, giving the age away, and I came out of rehearsal and the ringing has never stopped since. I really went through the traditional tinnitus story. I was in a lot of distress to begin with. I didn't really know what it was. I spent a lot of time, particularly over the first 2 years, just trying to find a way to stop the ringing. I didn't really believe there wasn't a way, so I kept looking. So I tried supplements, I tried chiropractor, I tried CBT. I had a trial through the eardrum with the injections for the NHS. I couldn't find anything that really worked for me. I tried hearing aids, but my hearing damage wasn't that significant that I really wanted to go through the hassle of hearing aids and the batteries and all of that. The one thing that did work for me was white noise. I always found that white noise was very helpful. And other background noise, obviously, as many tinnitus sufferers do. But what I found was that my whole day was going between different devices, switching things on and off, having a white noise machine next to the bed, waking up, going downstairs, turning on the radio or the TV, then leaving the house to go to work, putting my earphones in, blocking my ears, so tinnitus was worse initially. At work, I would have white noise on the laptop, just very gentle white noise, just to take the edge off the tinnitus, which really worked for me. It was an open plan office, and nobody really noticed it. And day in, day out, this is what happened. So I got to the point where I just thought to myself, I need to find something that is a very straightforward wearable white noise device that is always on, so there's just continuity and something just to take the edge off, to try and help me towards habituation. I couldn't find anything at all on the market, and I really decided this has got to exist. So my brother's an electric engineer, and as you'll see in the 2018 photo there, we made some initial prototypes out of kitchen Tupperware and some PCBs. I wore the prototype, and I found that it really provided continuity, and it just gave me a really good experience, just taking the edge off of that tinnitus. And as I wore it more and more, I just found the tinnitus being less and less intrusive. We made some more prototypes, shared it with some people that we knew had tinnitus, some musicians particularly. Feedback was very good, and that's really when we started. I started thinking this product needs to exist. So I then started working on the prototypes. As I say, some more prototypes with my brother. Had a bit of a curveball. During that time, I actually got in touch with Jez and talked to him about the business and whether this is something that we could take forward, and how viable it was. Jez was kind enough to join me on the journey. I then had a really big curveball in 2019, and I had a really bad windsurfing accident, and I had a brain injury, and I had essentially what was a brainstem stroke. I was paralysed and ended up in hospital, and had brain surgery, and then it took about a year for me to recover, to learn to walk and talk. And the relevance of that is that A, it delayed everything with TinniSoothe, and B, as many of you will know, brain injuries and stress and all of that side of things does impact tinnitus. So it made my tinnitus worse, and luckily I made a really good recovery. When I came out of it, I decided I wanted to really make TinniSoothe a reality, so we kind of attacked it from there. We got to the point where ultimately in 2024 we went through all the, we'll talk to you about the regulation and all of that side of things, but we ultimately released the product in 2024. So we've had a year's worth of feedback on the product. And we've just been selling predominantly business to consumer at the moment, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. And yeah, a nice end to the slide. We were fortunate enough to be a winner of the Hearing Technology Innovator Award from the US last year. That's as quickly as I can do it, I think. Jez, do you think I've missed anything really critical out during that story?
No, and I think the one thing to say is in that 2018 prototype, for those who've never seen TinniSoothe or been to our website, there's a wearable module and a cradle that you dock it in at night. So that's the very first form of showing that, and we'll come on to that in a moment. So Howie, let's go to the next page.
Yeah, okay, so really to talk you through the product, we deliberately kept TinniSoothe really simple. We wanted something out of the box, straightforward, no connecting up to Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi. We essentially, it's here, you can see it here. I wear it all the time. It's has a small speaker at the top. It emits white noise. You can clip it onto your clothing or wear it around your neck. Most people tend to wear it around their neck. There's no need for headphones. There's no need for anything round or in the ears. You've got a simple control in terms of volume and frequency. There are micro settings for both. So there are around 60 volume settings, because often with tinnitus, a lot of the devices out there kind of jump too much between the volume and you can't get it quite right. So we wanted to make it really precise. There are 40 frequency settings, which helps you to just get the white noise just right for your tinnitus. Very subtle increments. It's very light. As I say, you can attach your own necklace to it, or you can wear it with a clip. The docking cradle, the battery lasts at least 48 hours. You take it up at night and you dock it in the cradle. When it's docked, it changes to nighttime settings, which you can alter with the buttons on the cradle. It plays white noise all night at the desired nighttime settings, and it recharges the battery. In the morning, you take it out, you pop it around your neck again, and it's with you all day. The goal, as I mentioned about it, is absolute minimum fuss. So in the ideal scenario, you just want something just to give you a little cocoon of white noise, just to take the edge off that tinnitus, and then you start thinking about it less and less. And because it's on all day, what you tend to find is that if you're in an environment that is noisy or where you're concentrating on something, often you don't need to worry about your tinnitus, because either you can't hear it or your brain is focused on something else. But when you actually leave that environment and you maybe go into a quieter environment, because TinniSoothe is always on, it's always there. You don't have to actively do anything. You don't have to switch something on, put your earphones in, change an app. It's just very seamless, and the battery supports that continuity. Anything to add, Jez?
I think I'll just read out the sentence at the bottom, which is it's the world's only wearable sound therapy device which supports tinnitus relief both day and night without anything in or behind the ears. And so whilst that's not a particularly concise and catchy tagline, it really is the unique side of TinniSoothe. There is nothing else quite like it out there, and has its place, therefore, hopefully in the tinnitus toolkit. How it's sort of different, I suppose, to other devices, and particularly other sound generators or white noise devices or sound therapy devices, is really the three things down the left. Not to belabor the point, but this continuous relief, our customers, our users, find it really reassuring as much as anything else. I think it was Gladys Sander in her recent book that said, you know, peace is not the absence of sound, it's the absence of fear. And one of the things we found with our customers is that quite often, particularly in the early and acute stages of tinnitus-related distress, they may be more worried about what environments am I going to end up in during the day than they are actually about the noise itself. And so they can become quite anxious about, am I going to get caught out? Will I end up in a quiet environment or a work setting where my tinnitus is going to flare up? And quite a lot of our users have used this phrase of the comfort blanket, the safety blanket. It's reassuring to have it on me. And we know that, of course, tinnitus is as much a psychological condition as it is an auditory condition in some cases. And so therefore, that's the first thing to say. It's this continuous relief. The configurability is really important. Howie mentioned already that there are 60 micro increments of volume and 40 micro increments of frequency. So you've got 4 buttons: volume up, down, frequency up, down. And the volume steps essentially, although as we know, decibels is not a linear scale, it's algorithmic, but roughly speaking, each step is about 1.2 decibels with change, and then each frequency step is about 150 hertz. So in fact, you need to click it a few times to even sort of notice that you're changing it. But the idea is to fine tune it in such a way that it really just gets it just right for your type of tinnitus. And then the last piece, I suppose, is why it's different. It's the convenience. It's the literally put it on in the morning after you've had a shower, got dressed, and put it on for the day. A lot of people will have the white noise playing very gently under their clothing all day long, not because they need the sound all day long, but so when they transition from noisy environments where they can't hear it to those quiet environments, instead of getting a fluctuation in that quiet setting, the sound is already there. It's fine-tuned to their type of tinnitus, and it just takes the edge off the fluctuation instead of it spiking. I think down the right-hand side, we've talked about most of these things already. What I would say is that it's made here in Britain. That was really important to us, that we set up the supply chain here. And we always offer a 30-day money-back guarantee to our customers so that they can buy it and try it. And if it doesn't work for them, they don't get relief within 30 days. We offer them a no-quibble refund, as long as they haven't dropped it in a swimming pool or stamped on it or something like that. But comes back to us in good condition, and we give them their money back, because we know that sound therapy, is part of the toolkit, but it won't work for everyone. And we'll get onto that in a minute.
Yeah, so I think the only thing to add to that, Jez, is that you'll find it on our website, in the way when we're talking about it in everything that we present, we never talk about a cure for tinnitus. We never talk about even a treatment for tinnitus. We are acutely aware that there is none, and there are lots of stuff on the market that claims to be, and we made a definitive decision when we launched the business that we were going to never ever use the word cure in relation to TinniSoothe. Yeah,
or solution.
Yeah.
And that's why we decided to officially register TinniSoothe as a Class 1 medical device as well. A lot of other sound generators out there, in fact, I think pretty much all of them are not. They are well-being devices. They are they are general devices. They're not registered as a medical device. And so that gives us, all of the safety and compliance and regulatory hoops that we had to go through. We believe are worth it, because customer confidence is really important to us. We've self-funded this entire journey ourselves. We were lucky enough to win a couple of small grants along the way from Innovate UK. But this is a passion project of ours that we've turned into now a business, which we've put our own money into. And the final thing to say here is it is patented. So particularly the portability of the product and the wearability of it is really the area of the patent. You can't patent sound therapy, of course. And that's been in existence for a long time as part of the tinnitus toolkit. But what we've done is we've invented, or Howie has invented, a new vehicle for delivering that sound therapy, and one that we think fits in with people's daily lives. So again, sound therapy we're all familiar with, and Tinnitus UK and the ATA, both talk about it as being part of the toolkit and a way of reducing the perceived burden and intensity of tinnitus. But one thing we want to be really clear about is we never ever talk about masking. We don't talk about TinniSoothe as a tinnitus masker. We talk about distraction and habituation. And obviously there's been lots of papers down the years, Newman et al. And others that, talk about the four general mechanisms, namely, distraction, modulation, masking, and habituation. We only talk about distraction and habituation. So for us, distraction, really important, volume and tone being very configurable. Everyone's tinnitus is different. We follow the BSHAA guidelines, which is you should really set it just below the level of your tinnitus. Don't drown it out. Otherwise, once you stop using it, your tinnitus is going to potentially be more pronounced. And we try and really get this across in our literature and our education. Distraction, of course, can be really effective in also calming the anxiety and the distress around tinnitus. And so getting the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex just to stop being so hyper aroused and looking for the tinnitus is a key part of how we've designed the product. And we've seen in sort of user reported feedback that the better sleep at night improves the daytime tinnitus. People are waking up in a better frame of mind, potentially. That all helps during the day. Then using the device during the day hopefully has given them some relief, which then leads into a better bedtime routine, etc. So this thing can become a nice virtuous circle rather than a vicious cycle. And then habituation, we're very much about supporting the longer term goal of habituation and living well with tinnitus. We're very clear that TinniSoothe, like every sound therapy option, it can be a standalone use, but it's also very powerful when used in conjunction with other therapies, particularly CBT and acceptance and commitment therapy. We've not got any independent research around this, but we've got a lot of user feedback saying that wearing their TinniSoothe in conjunction with hearing aids or CI can be very effective. And in fact, a lot of hearing aid users have reported that they enjoy turning off the tinnitus masker app if they're wearing combination hearing aids, so that there's nothing filling their auditory canal. So that's something that is we really want to sort of look into in more detail.
I think one of the things that's been said to us is the people that are often using hearing aids want them mainly to be hearing aids. They just want that to focus on being hearing aids, as opposed to having that white noise absolutely right in your ears. And that's been a really, really positive bit of feedback for using TinniSoothe with hearing aids.
Yeah. And if those combination aids do work for people, fantastic. That's great. They don't need TinniSoothe. And we're very conscious again that we don't want people to become over reliant, which is why we don't talk about masking and constant use. So over time, our guidance is for people to gradually notch down the volume as they learn to push the tinnitus more to the back of their consciousness rather than to the front of it. They should be able to turn down the TinniSoothe device over time. And we've got some nice feedback from users who've been able to put it away in a drawer and only reach for it when they get a really bad spike or fluctuation. Who can benefit? This is just based on a survey we sent out to around 300 of our users, but I think these are things, talking to many audiologists over the last 18 months, seem to resonate with them, which is, what are the patient types who might benefit from TinniSoothe? Certainly those who live with bothersome or severe tinnitus, but have no or low hearing loss, as a classic example. But there are also some that maybe aren't so obvious. So those who may be struggling with tinnitus but can't tolerate wearing anything in or behind the ears, it's worth exploring TinniSoothe. Those, as we talked about, with combination hearing aids who would rather unblock the auditory canal. Those living with tinnitus who wear aids or cochlear implants. Now, the limitation there, of course, is quite often if they take out that technology at nighttime, they just can't hear the bedside device. So that would be more of a daytime use case. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, we've talked about. So for those who are digitally excluded or have low digital literacy, this can be really good, and without, stereotyping demographics, certainly the feedback from a lot of our older customers is that they really enjoy that side of it. And of course, although it's been designed primarily as a sort of a fit in with your daily life device, so you can sort of work, rest and play in this, sleep is a huge part of the bother around tinnitus. And so those who experience a lot of sleep disturbance or insomnia, TinniSoothe can be a good option for them. So loads of good reviews. We don't need to get into them too much. We've had over 100 verified reviews now in the first 15 months of being out in the market, both on Google and on Helpful Crowd. And those are all on our website, so you can go and have a look at those. We're getting more and more industry recognition, I think, and engagement. Not a lot of people know us yet, but it was interesting going to BSHAA in December 2024 and then going to the London event about 10 months later last year, that we're certainly, I think, much better known than we were 12 months ago. We have announced 6 months ago a partnership with Boots Hearing Care, which you may have seen. So at the moment we're on the bootshearingcare.com e-shop, and hopefully in time we'll be in store as well, although that might take a little time. We're getting some nice sort of blogs and PR posts out there. You might have seen one from Harley Street Hearing recently. We won that Innovator Award that Howie mentioned, which is run by Hearing Health and Technology Matters. But probably more important than anything else is the bottom left. Because we don't come from this space, and we've learned a lot in the last 5-6 years about it, but we're not clinicians. And so we're constantly challenging ourselves to make sure that we're thinking through more of the science of this. And so we set up the Clinical Advisory Board in Q3 last year. You may know some of these faces and colleagues. Dr. Gladys Sander, of course, the tinnitus and hyperacusis coach, doctor of audiology. Lena Batra, who's an excellent hearing therapist and deaf awareness consultant. Dr. James Jackson, I'm sure you know, up at Leeds Trinity University, on the psychology side of tinnitus, and Rob Shepherd, consultant audiologist for over 40 years, up in Norfolk, who is working closely with the World Health Organization. So they're keeping us honest on things, and we're asking them for more help about how can we be more prescriptive around how to use TinniSoothe in certain settings, and we'll get more of that out in 2026, no doubt. We're aware that our evidence base is still pretty early, but it is growing. So very briefly, from left to right, we started out with our own in-house trial with about 10 people in 2023, and this is a document we published. Statistically, of course, not relevant because it's a proprietary set of results, but the results from that were so encouraging. It's what really prompted Howie and I to step out of our corporate careers and to try and give this a go. We found that 90% of those trialists saw a good improvement in their tinnitus severity in things like concentration, sleep, and anxiety. Tinnitus UK, who we love dearly, we think they do great work, has done an independent treatment sheet on TinniSoothe. And most exciting of all in recent times has been the work that the Combat Stress Centre for Applied Military Health Research has been doing. So let's delve into that. First of all, last year, in the first half of last year, Combat Stress, under the guidance of Professor Dominic Murphy, who's a psychologist, they ran a feasibility study using TinniSoothe devices with military veterans. So Combat Stress is the leading charity for military veterans' mental health, which you may know. 20 veterans supported the feasibility and acceptability of TinniSoothe. So is it safe? Is it usable? Did it help you? Would you recommend it to family and friends? And the results of that are to be published very soon, hopefully in the next edition of the Journal of Hearing Science. On the back of that, Combat Stress then asked if they could work with us to take some TinniSoothe devices to do a separate clinical trial with a new cohort of veterans, and that protocol has been published. It has literally just concluded that trial last week, so they've been running it for the last few months. There's various quantitative outcome measures, including TFI, GHQ-12, ISI for insomnia, and satisfaction with life scale. It is a waitlist controlled trial, so it's a proper clinical trial. We're really excited. We don't know what the results are, of course, but we're really excited to see those. I put the link in here to the trial protocol, which is published in open source, which people can go to and see how the trial has been run and what the two groups are and how they're randomly selected. Final thing to say before we get on to the Q&A and the offers for BSHAA members is, we try and be in this for the right reasons. You've heard Howie's story. I won't go into my own story, but it's on various podcasts and things. But we really do try and help not just people who live with tinnitus and struggle with tinnitus, but also mental well-being generally. So that's why we support 3 charities in the UK: Combat Stress, Help Musicians, and Tinnitus UK. And we set these partnerships up right at the very beginning of our journey, in fact, because it was really important for us to try and support certain sections of society and the tinnitus community in real focus. Howie, do you want to talk a tiny bit about our 2026 priorities, and then we'll literally be almost done then for Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we highlighted that we wanted to go to market as soon as we could, even after several years. But we launched TinniSoothe version 1, and we've had 18 months nearly of brilliant feedback from a very loyal and positive user base. We are taking all that feedback and we are looking at how we can build a better mousetrap, and looking at what a version 2 device could look like, what that could entail. We really having focused on all of that feedback, we want to make sure that we are reaching out to the high street chains. We've already got the deal with Boots, who are stocking us. We're being very particular about who we work with. We don't want to flood the market in terms of a whole bunch of audiologists, but essentially we want to be very, very specific about who we're working with and control the way that we're going to market. So hence one of the reasons why we're coming through and talking to you guys today. And the third thing is really about we understand, we've highlighted that we are not clinicians, we're not audiologists. Clinical evidence, evidence-based stuff, published, complete independent research is going to be critical for us, and that's why we've gone down the route of working with well-established outfits like Combat Stress, so we can get that complete independence as well. So that's what we're working on in 2026.
Thanks. Well, I'm going to save the special offer because I think we should take questions now, and then we'll come on to there's 2 little special offers at the end for BSHAA members.
Thank you very much for that. It was super interesting. Yeah, gosh, bringing a product like that to market, and you've done it so well. We really have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't quite appreciate that. You had 60 volume settings and 40 frequency settings. That's really. Yeah, it's a more I know you're saying it's a simple product, but it's a bit more sophisticated than I actually thought it might be. So I love that.
Yeah, and the other thing, a lot of the feedback we've had as well, there's white noise and there's white noise. So some white noise can be very, very ugly, very difficult to listen to. A lot of the feedback that we've had on our white noise is that it's a very warm, friendly white noise. Which is great to hear, and that's obviously the reason to some degree why we've had such good feedback, I think.
I would certainly like to have it, on my eShop, and I'm going to purchase a demonstrate if you allow that. I'd like to have one, but I mean, I've never considered myself a tinnitus expert at all, and I say that to my customers, but it'd be nice to have something, because not very often do I get people come in that don't have any hearing loss or low level with tinnitus, but it'd be very nice to have something.
Yeah, well, that's something that we'd love to extend to all BSHAA members, and again, before the end we'll put that up, but we want to sort of make it easy for people to have a demo device in clinic that they can show off, because we're such a tiny company and we've self-funded it all ourselves.
Yeah, no,
we can't give away 600 devices, unfortunately, but we're going to try and make it as easy as possible for people to have access to that, their patients.
Yeah.
So questions, any questions on the product, or on use cases, or sort of any pitfalls or anything like that?
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yes, please, Julia.
So, just following up what Jane said, can you please? I know during the presentation you talked about the steps, each steps that the volume control and the frequency they have. I would really like to hear a little bit more about insight, why you decided to add so many steps and not perhaps 80 or way more. What was the thought process there?
I think, and Howie will jump in, I'm sure. When Howie came up with the idea, he already knew that tinnitus is very different for everyone. Okay. And so when people buy, let's say, sort of cheaper sound generators, and you've only got a few settings and you can't quite get it to the level that you need for your type of tinnitus, A, it can be frustrating. B, people can start using them in the wrong way. So particularly people start masking their tinnitus for hours on end and drowning out the sound with a volume that's too high for their tinnitus. And that can actually set people back over the long term in terms of their journey towards habituation. So one of the design principles was to have these tiny steps that allow people to really fine tune the volume, so it's just almost matching their tinnitus, but just below. And then the frequency is really a choice of, do you want it more trebly or more bassy, to use very layman's terms. The frequency range at the moment is about 3 kilohertz at the bottom to 9 kilohertz at the top. And we probably over-engineered the steps there. So 40 frequency steps covering 3 to 9 kilohertz is about 150 hertz per step. So if you click it once, twice, you don't really hear much difference in the frequency. You have to press it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you'll start to hear a little bit of a change. So we're actually looking to extend that range to still have 40 steps, but to cover a broader range of frequencies at both the low end and the top end, because for some people it doesn't quite hit the tonality that they're looking for their type of tinnitus. But really, Julio, the decision point there was to try and make it as easy as possible for people to find the right volume and frequency for their type of tinnitus.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd add to that would be that one of the subtlety of bringing the volume down. So, for example, let's say you're on volume 30, and your volume 30 is your go-to volume, so it's sticky. So it's always the same volume. When you turn it on, it always stays at the volume unless you dock it and it goes to nighttime. But because it's so micro, the settings are so micro, you can, if you find that you are noticing your tinnitus less and less, you can drop one notch to 29 and you won't even really notice any different. But over time, then you might drop a notch to 28, and this is what happened with me. And then you find, oh, actually, I'm barely noticing the difference, but I know that over 2 months, I've actually dropped 5 notches, and that tends to go hand in hand with an improvement of the tinnitus. So, as Jez said, I think if anything, we probably over-reg the microness of the settings, but we would rather have done that than to have settings that are too big increments. That means you can't get it just right.
Perfect, thank you. I have another question actually. Given that Jez really just started talking about what are the plans for the T2, do you have any other preview for us on what the T2 will look like?
We're not going to get into too much
not yet.
detail on that. We do. We've gone quite a long way with the development design, but we'll keep some of that up our sleeves. But more optionality, I think it's fair to say, particularly in terms of the type of sound that you can choose, so it won't be limited just to white noise.
Perfect,
Howie,
thank
anything
you.
else you want to share at this point?
No, I think we keep it safely up our sleeve for now.
And
This time next year.
okay, that was my question. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean, look, we would, as you can imagine, I mean, you're basically looking at the whole business here. It's really me and Jez, my brother Lloyd's engaged as well, but that's it. So you know, it takes us time to do things, and you know, if we manage to get to market with version 2 at the beginning of next year, we would be absolutely delighted. But it's a long way to go.
And we do have a great friend of ours and colleague who does customer support. So it's really important to us that we look after our customers well. And Howie and I dive in from time to time and pick up cases and questions. But we have someone working on that every day who's picking up via email any, you know, can you help me? How do I tune it better? How do I change the clip again? You know, that sort of stuff. So we've got some good online assets, but sometimes people just want another human that they can engage with.
Yeah, and I, you know, I think that it's really worth. We understand that tinnitus is so subjective, right? And that's why when we highlighted, we don't talk about cure, we don't talk about treatment solution, we talk about tinnitus toolkit, and we talk about the right people need something that works for them. And I think probably doing the 30-day money back guarantee was probably one of our best decisions, even though it's a tough decision, right? Because you're getting product back and you're refunding the money. But that really, I think, does help to build confidence in the fact that people would just relax. They can you know, try it, see if it works. That's something that's been, I think, a real positive for us.
Yeah, and I'm very happy to share our data around the returns, because it's something that I think some of people watching this will be keen to hear, is like, well, how many people do keep it beyond 30 days? How many send it back? And I've gone public with this in podcasts and things, so very happy to share it. So when people buy from our website, so they're buying it sight unseen. They've never touched the product, felt the product, heard the product. They're just going on, you know, what we're trying to inform them about. When they buy it from our website, 76% of people keep it beyond 30 days, which we're really pleased with. 24% send it back, so about a quarter. And the most common reason why people send it back is because despite our best efforts to dissuade this particular group, we still get a lot of people with severe or profound hearing loss who don't wear corrective hearing aids, who buy TinniSoothe and then can't hear it, or they have to turn it up right to the top volume so people around them can then hear it. And that's a question that we'll come to as well, because everyone asks that, can other people hear it? But in terms of the returns, when people buy it sight unseen, 76% keep it, 24% will return it for a refund. Now, when someone's had a demonstration or a consultation first, so there are a few independent clinics who have got TinniSoothe demo devices already. And of course, sometimes we're demoing to people. Where that happens and people purchase a TinniSoothe device, 91% keep it and only 9% send it back. Now, that's a smaller data pool, but I think it's indicative of the fact that if people get a chance to sort of have a play with it, let's say for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they can pretty quickly tell, I think, in most cases, they're like, I think this might help me, or I don't really like it, or no, I don't think this is right for me, or wow, this is almost immediately provided some relief. So that's an interesting stat. And as we roll out to more clinics, it will be interesting to keep an eye on that.
And the only, again, the thing to add to that is the people opting in a really, and I remember it, that acute initial few days, weeks, even months of distress. That is a really good time to try and get your brain to understand, to not lock into it, and actually the nice thing about TinniSoothe being straight out the box is that people in that state, if they fit the profile, can switch it on and get immediate relief. It's an immediate thing. So for audiologists who are seeing people really struggling, and many see a lot of people in that acute panic, this is something that could potentially really help, and has helped many people in that stage.
And for some people, it takes a bit longer, it's fair to say as well. So some people, we've even had people who've written to us said, I was about to return it and I thought I'd give it a couple more days on a different frequency setting, and I think I've kind of found the one for me now. So we're not claiming that obviously it's any kind of immediate or instant relief for everyone, but we've certainly had cases where it has been pretty instantaneous, which is always very very heartening. Shall I talk a bit, Jane, about the can other people hear it? Because I'm sure, again, people will want to know the answer to that one.
Yep.
So the answer is it depends. For most people, if they've got either, no hearing loss or mild to moderate hearing loss, they can set it at a level which, because of the way it's designed, it kind of creates a bit of a cocoon of white noise up towards the ears. It doesn't go out sideways to people around. For most people, they can set it at a level that it wouldn't typically be noticeable to people around them, unless they sort of went, oh, can you hear that? And people lean in and go, oh yeah, I didn't notice that, because of course the brain is tuning out things all the time, fridges, fans, heating, whatever else, because the brain from other people doesn't detect a threat, and they can't see it. If you've got severe or profound hearing loss, then obviously if you're wearing corrective hearing aids, then again shouldn't be an issue. But as I mentioned before, for some people, they do potentially perhaps live in a bit of denial about their hearing loss, and so they might not wear corrective technology, but they might have some significant hearing loss, and they might have to whack the volume up pretty loud, and at that point other people definitely around can hear. And then it's really a question of their lifestyle. So are those other people around them, in a work setting or a home setting, going to be annoyed by that? Or perhaps, if they live alone, work in a home office, or are down the shed pottering about doing something, then it's actually fine for them to turn it up a bit louder. Nighttime is a really interesting one. So as Howie mentioned before, when you take it off and you dock it at night, it immediately flips to your nighttime setting. So you don't have to remember what your last setting was in the dock. Typically, people have that a little bit louder because it's further away, obviously, from their ears. It's on a bedside table typically. And the question then always is, will my sleeping partner be able to hear it if they have a sleep partner? And again, it depends. And it depends how loud they have it on. And we've also had many, many cases where their sleep partner has actually reported back that they really enjoy the sound of the TinniSoothe at night. And we had one brilliant story of a customer of ours who said her husband had just finished doing 30 years in the Merchant Navy, and he was so used to the sound of ship engines that he was really struggling to sleep at night, back on dry land, as it were. And she bought a TinniSoothe for her tinnitus, and she put it on at night, and he was like, this is brilliant. It just reminds me of being back with the ship. So we get lots of anecdotal feedback like that. But the honest answer is it depends. But for most people, they should be able to set it at a level during the day and at night where it's hopefully not going to bother other people.
Okay, brilliant.
Any other questions? Zoe, I'm sure you've got one. Come on.
That was actually what I was going to ask about, whether other people could hear it, because yeah, I can imagine that. Is there like a certain I know you said it's like 60 volume settings. So at what kind of level does it then become noticeable to others? Is it like at 40 or at 50 or, you know, that kind of scale?
Yes, as you're probably aware, decibels don't go up in a linear fashion, right? So at the top of the scale, it's actually 86 decibels. If you held it to your ear, it'd be 86 decibels. Obviously, from the where you're wearing it, about a foot away from there, the maximum volume is about 65 decibels to the ears, but that's pretty loud, right? So we don't have the scientific answer to it, but at around 45 decibels, it should be absolutely fine. You know, and not noticeable. Howie, sorry, I think I jumped over you. You were going to say something.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. I mean, what I tend to find with mine is that I will, because my hearing damage isn't too bad. It's very rarely a problem. But actually, because the way we've done it with the buttons on the front, if let's say I get in a lift and I'm all of a sudden conscious, oh, can someone hear my TinniSoothe? I just literally just reach up and just go a couple of presses under, you know, 2-3 presses underneath my t-shirt. I don't, you know, you can just, the way we've done the buttons is you can feel it very easily through clothing, so you can just manage it. You don't have to take it out or take it off. You can just manage it with very subtle touches on your where you're wearing it, and you can manage it like that.
Yeah,
that's it. I was also thinking, like, because it's very bespoke to the user, how do they find the right frequency? And I understand with the volume, it's kind of like, so it's just underneath your tinnitus, but how would they find the right frequency that would work best for them? Or is it just like trial and error?
Yeah, it's mainly, you know, as we said earlier, part of the reason of having the clinical advisory board was to bring some more robust science and data around that sort of thing, and they're the sort of conversations we're having. But the reality is, you know, because tinnitus is such a subjective thing. Ultimately, well, if it's not masking your tinnitus and it's lower, which frequency helps you most? That's really, it's very much trial and error, and that's sometimes why we get people who try it for a bit and then say, oh, I'm not sure, make some changes, and then go, okay, yeah, this works.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, sorry.
I was going to say, any other questions from Jane and Julio, or do you want to show us the fantastic offer you've got for us?
We've got 2 offers today, Zoe.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, thanks for the questions. Right, so if I can get back on the screen here, I think, right, yes, went to the right page. So first offer is all through this quarter, so up until March 31st, we're going to offer BSHAA members a 50% discount on a TinniSoothe demo device for their clinic. So these are brand new devices, to be clear, but they're to be used as demo devices. Code is BSHAA50. So that takes the normal price of £365 down to £182.50, if my maths is right. And it's 1 device per clinic. We do have some clinics who have asked and are interested in sort of buying a few devices wholesale and then being able to offer those at point of sale after a consultation, and we're very open to that. So people just need to email us if they're interested in that, and the email address is on the next page. But if someone just wants 1 demo device that they can have in their clinic to show with patients and they can just try it out for a bit, then that is the way to do it. Go to TinniSoothe.com and put in the special discount code. Please don't pass this out to end users and patients. This is really just a BSHAA clinicians offer. So that's that one. Any questions on that? Is that pretty clear?
That's pretty clear.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
And the other offer is a freebie, not quite as exciting, but hopefully useful. If you want some of our free information leaflets, I will grab one. Here they are. They're quite useful. They're written from both a sort of a patient point of view and a clinician point of view. Just email us at hello@tinnisoothe.com. Let us know what clinic the leaflets are for, and obviously the address and everything, and we'll get 25 out to up to 25 out to that clinic for free. so that they can have those and hand them out to people if they want to. As an optional extra, quite a few clinics have in the past said, well, can we pass on some sort of discount code, which is sort of branded to us? So let's say it was a Southeast Hearing as an example, might be SEH20. And then we give them that discount code, slap a sticker on the back of the leaflets, and they can then pass that on to their patients as a bit of a value add to bring the price down to just under £300. So we're very willing to do that as well. As we said earlier, we're in this for the right reasons. We're not looking to sort of try and make a load of money out of this. We're trying to do the right thing by people. Hopefully we get a successful business up and running for sure. That's what we want. But we're really in this to try and make life a bit easier for people if we can. So those are the two things we wanted to mention. Any other questions or thoughts people have, just email us at hello@tinnisoothe.com. That's Howie's brother Lloyd on the right, if you were wondering. And we're happy to help.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And thank you for having us as well. Thank you for listening.
You're very
Absolutely.
welcome. It's been good. Thank you.
Thanks so much, everybody. And we appreciate the opportunity.